You know the feeling, right? That deadline is just looming, the pressure is building, and that little voice in your head keeps saying, "Oh, you can totally do that later." That's procrastination. And let me tell you, it's a career killer that does way more damage than just messing up your to-do list. So how do we actually fight back? Well, let's break down a really powerful strategy to conquer it for good.
But before we dive in, I have a question for you. Think about your workday. Are you actually being productive? Pushing the important stuff forward? Or are you just busy? There is a massive difference. And mistaking activity for accomplishment, that's the #1 trap.
To see exactly what I mean, let's meet Bob. Now, Bob seems like a decent manager. His desk is clean, he's a nice guy, but he's got this one huge flaw. He is the classic last-minute manager. He's always scrambling, always rushing, and just barely squeaking by. And look, this isn't just some harmless personality quirk. Bob's whole just-in-time routine has some serious consequences. His habit of delaying everything leads to sloppy work, a ton of stress for his team, and in this case, it just lost his company a $200,000 account. Ouch.
So after losing that account, Bob's boss just lays it on the line with this one. Simple, brutal truth. In the world we live in today, there is just no room for just barely. The stakes are way too high for everybody.
So yeah, the consequences are real. Bob gets put on probation. But instead of just getting fired, he gets one last chance. He's sent to meet this mysterious new person in the company, the Chief Effectiveness Officer, who promises to teach him something called the 3P strategy. This is it. This is his shot to fix things.
Okay, so the very first part of this strategy goes right after Bob's biggest issue, his chronic lateness. And the solution? It's not some fancy new app or calendar trick. It's a fundamental idea: priority.
The Chief Effectiveness Officer makes a real point of this because it is the absolute foundation of everything. If you don't have a clear sense of your priorities, nothing else is going to work. You have to know what's actually important versus what's just making a lot of noise.
So how do you figure out what your priorities are when, everything feels urgent? Well, the answer comes from a pretty intense place: triage. Yeah, this concept comes from battlefield medicine, where doctors had to make literal life-or-death calls about who to save first. We're going to apply that same ruthless focus to our tasks.
And here's the tool to do it: the Activity Triage Matrix. It's a super simple grid that helps you sort every single thing you have to do. Just look at the yes column. These are the things you absolutely have to do, whether you feel like it or not. Then you've got maybe and no. And here's the big reveal: last-minute managers spend almost all their time in the maybe column, and believe it or not, even in the no column.
Okay, so being on time is great, but it's not enough, is it? I mean, what about the quality of the actual work? Well, that brings us to the second P, propriety. This is what separates just getting it done from getting it done right.
I know, the second P, propriety, probably sounds like a word your grandpa would use, but the idea behind it is timeless. It just means correctness, doing things the proper way. It is the perfect antidote to that sloppy, rushed work that always happens at the last minute.
Now, to make this idea real, the Chief Effectiveness Officer gives Bob this amazing checklist. It's called the Bill of Rights for Quality Work. This isn't just about finishing a task. It's a whole framework for doing excellent work. Are you doing the right thing, for the right reasons, with the right people? It makes sure every single action is deliberate and well executed.
All right, so we've handled lateness with priority, and we've dealt with poor quality using propriety. But what about that third killer symptom? The stress, that constant anxiety that just hangs over every procrastinator. Well, that leads us to the final, and honestly, the most surprising P. So what is it? I mean, after priority and propriety, what could possibly be the secret sauce that ties it all together and gets rid of all that stress? The Chief Effectiveness Officer just lets that question hang in the air for a second. Because, yeah, the word isn't what you'd expect. It's actually a deliberate curveball. It's designed to be a memory trick, to make sure this last, crucial piece of the puzzle really stands out.
The third P is commitment. This is the raw power that actually drives you to follow through. Without commitment, all your priorities are just a wish list, and propriety is just a nice theory. Commitment is the engine that makes this entire system go.
And this right here is a really important distinction. There's a huge gap between being interested in something and being committed to it. See, an interested person, they make excuses when things get hard. But a committed person, they don't even know what excuses are. They just know results.
The chief effectiveness officer tells a story about this school janitor who used to inspire kids with this one simple, misspelled phrase he'd write on the board every single day. This little piece of wisdom just cuts right to the chase. It's not about just needing to do something, it's about having that deep internal fire to see it through. You gotta wanna.
So, how did Bob actually take all this and make it his own? Let's quickly look at how these three big ideas come together to form one single, powerful system.
So here it is, the whole framework in one simple, three-step solution. For Bob, priority fixed his lateness because it forced him to focus on what mattered. Propriety fixed his poor quality by giving him a blueprint for doing things right. And commitment? That solved his stress. Because when you're truly committed, you have the drive to get things done, minus the panic. In the end, this whole thing isn't about downloading another productivity app or buying some fancy planner. The 3P strategy is about rewiring the way you think. It's a total shift in your mindset from being a passive victim of your to-do list to being an active, on-target owner of your results. Which really just leaves us with one last powerful question. It's the same question that turns Bob from a last-minute manager into the best leader in his company. So forget about what you're just interested in. Look at your goals, your job, your life, and ask yourself this: what will you truly commit to?